Hello members, and how are you? Welcome to our very first lecture of learning how to make mobile applications using Flutter. So Flutter is a very powerful technology, and it is becoming very popular as how we looked at in the previous lecture. In today's lecture, we're going to take it from there. We're going to go straight into practicals, how you can set up your Flutter environment, and how you can create your first application for Flutter. And then we go deep and do now real application. You learn how to make applications of what? Of Flutter. So without taking much time, let's go straight to our today's business. We're going to do 40 minutes first in this session, and then we'll have a break and then do another 40 minutes. So I hope you're going to be very attentive in this session because it's not going to take too long. All right, so let's begin. Setting up the environment. So there are different things that you need when you're setting up your environment of Flutter. The first thing, you need an IDE, or what you call the editor. And what you use here, the most important one, is Android Studio. So you have to download in your computer an Android Studio. The specifications of what you need to have as your computer, or the minimum requirements for your computer, I already shared them in the previous lecture. So I'll put the link of that lecture in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and understand them. But in brief, your laptop needs to have at least 8 GB RAM, and then you should be having an SSD, because if you use an hard disk, it will be very slow. And it should be i5 and above, the processor. So if you have a setup like that, then you're good to go. But if you have maybe a dual core, and you have maybe like a hard disk in your laptop, and your RAM is small, like 4 GB, you're going to, yes, it may work, but you're going to face a lot of challenges. Your laptop will be very slow, or your computer will be very slow. So I recommend you to give it what it takes. Invest in some money, upgrade your laptop, install their SSD. After installing their SSD, put there enough RAM, like 8 GB, and then make sure that the processor is like i5. Then give it a try. You'll see that if you invest your energy in learning how to make these mobile applications, is not a time wastage. So I need you to be practical after this lecture. Make sure that you set up your environment, and then start trying following me. I teach you as we practice on the other side. So let's go straight to our today's business. So the first thing that I told you, I said that you're going to need Android Studio. So to download Android Studio, just go ahead and open your google.com. I believe everyone at this level knows what is meant by Google. So you're going to go ahead and download Android Studio. So download Android Studio, come here to Google and search Android Studio download. Search that word on Google. Yes. Yeah, Melon. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So go ahead and download. And search download Android Studio. Download Android Studio like this. Then click on download. So when you click on download, it will take you to the place where you're going to download the Android Studio. This is the website of download. The first link will take you straight to there if you search that. So you'll have here a button of downloading Android Studio. So if you're using Mac, they'll give you the version of Mac. If you're using Windows, they'll give you the version of Windows. If you're using Ubuntu, they'll give you the version of Ubuntu. However, there is a way how you can change the version that you want to hear, and then you change a different release, and then you'll be able to get it. Okay, so that is how you download Android Studio. So me, I'm using this laptop, so I have a correct version for me. I just simply click on this button. So you can note down, step number 1, you download Android Studio. So once you download Android Studio, you'll go ahead and install it. So to install is just to get that thing that you've downloaded, and then open it in your laptop, and then it will take you through the steps of installing, like step 1, step 2, and then you click next. It installs some few things, downloads some few things, and then after it will become now an Android Studio itself now. All right, so that is how you download Android Studio. Just simply come here and then download this Android Studio like this. So all right, after doing that, then me, I already have it in my laptop, so I will not need to download it. So it is very simple. Don't get scared. It is really simple, like I've just explained to you. If this video does not work for you, you try another video from YouTube. Search from YouTube, from other tutors or from other teachers of how you can download Android Studio. They'll give you clear steps. So don't stop at this level that I've failed to download Android Studio. No, you cannot fail, and because you're not the first. So many people are downloading it. So if you face some challenges, don't give up. Try to search from other sources. You'll be able to download and install it. Okay? So download and install Android Studio. So once you download and install Android Studio, when you open it, it will be something like this. Where is it? So when you open it, it will be something like this. Even if you use Windows machine, it will be just like this, the way you're seeing this one. Let me first put here. So Android Studio will be something like this. It will be like this, to look like this. So once you have that in your computer, the next thing that you're going to do, so step number 2, you're going to download the Flutter SDK. So Flutter SDK is the code of Flutter. As I explained in the previous video, that Flutter is an interface between you and between you and the operating system. So you have to download and install. You have to download Flutter, and then you connect it here. So we will be writing, and Flutter will be helping us to translate our code from Dart to Java or to Kotlin that can communicate directly to to the operating system. So next step, you're going to download Flutter itself. So to download Flutter, you'll come here again on Google search, and then when you reach on Google search, go ahead and write download Flutter like this. All right, so go ahead and say install Flutter. You'll see here the first button here, install Flutter. So they will take you to the page or to the website of Flutter, and these are the steps of downloading Flutter. I mean, these are the options of downloading Flutter. So you have Flutter for Windows, you have Flutter for Mac operating system, you have Flutter for Linux, you have Flutter for Chrome operating system. So go ahead and download Flutter for for Windows, if you have Windows operating system. If you're having Mac, go ahead and download Flutter for Mac. And these are the steps of downloading Mac. Just go ahead and download Flutter. If you're using M1 chip or M2 chip, you'll go ahead and download this one. If your CPU is M1 or M2, you go ahead and download this one, which has silicon. If you're using an Intel, something that is later than M1, and that's something that's later than M1 chip, you go ahead and download this one. So those are using Mac, understand what I'm saying. So you can go ahead and download that one. Then you'll have to run these two commands, and then you have to export the path of Flutter into your project. I mean into your terminal. So Flutter can be inside your environment. Then after, you can run Flutter Doctor. Flutter Doctor, it is the one that will make sure, or that will confirm with you that yes, Android has been installed in your Flutter has been installed successfully in your environment. So if you face some challenges, there is a lot of optional videos. Even me, I've already created the optional videos that takes you through that. Search on YouTube, try like 10 videos or 5 videos. Before you finish those videos, while you're trying, you'll have figured out how to set up Flutter properly in your operating system. Likewise to an Intel operating system. So if you're using Windows, so just simply go ahead and say click on the Windows icon, and then download this zip. After downloading that zip, unzip it, and then put it in a specific folder. After putting it in a specific folder, follow this step. Go ahead and open your environment, and then copy the link of that folder and put it in your environment. To open your environment, you just simply click on start, and then search environment, and then select edit environment variables, and then you'll be able to see a place where you can add the path. So just read these few steps, these ones, and then you'll be able to add the path for Flutter into your environment. If you also fail, there is a lot of videos of Flutter in YouTube, on YouTube. Go ahead and do it and check them out. You will find a very clear video better than this one that can explain to you how to download Flutter in case you find some challenges. So that is how you download and install Flutter. Just this one you download and put and unzip it and then put somewhere. Likewise to Mac. So me, I've already downloaded it and I already have it on my laptop. So I'll not need to repeat it again. So once your Flutter is okay, you have to open your terminal and then run this command. Okay, run a command called the Flutter Doctor, like this. So Flutter Doctor, it will check if everything that is in your laptop is well set for the Flutter environment. So that is the other step. So you should get a green check boxes or green ticks like the one you're seeing here, and then you should have no issues. So if you have some issues, they'll explain a few things of how you can rectify them, how you can fix them. And there is a lot always solutions on internet. So whether using Windows or Mac, you should run Flutter Doctor, and then you should be able to have this. So after running Flutter Doctor, now you have installed Android Studio, you have installed Flutter. The next thing, you're going to install the plugin of Flutter. So if you're going to use Visual Studio Code, you have to install the plugin of Flutter. If you're going to use Android Studio, you have to install the plugin of Flutter. So the plugin of Flutter is an extension. You can call it extension, you can call it a plugin that will add more features to your IDE or to your editor for it to be able to handle Flutter or to be able to work with Flutter. So if you're using Visual Studio Code, it will add that feature of being able to use Flutter. And if you're using Android Studio, it will add those features of being able to use Flutter. So to install to install the Flutter plugin or to install Flutter extension, if you're going to use Visual Studio Code, you'll see the extension, and then you'll be able to search Flutter from that section. If you're going to use Android Studio, just simply come here to where there is plugin after you've opened your Android Studio, and then go ahead and search here Flutter. All right. Okay, so go ahead and search here Flutter. You will see the plugin called Flutter. It is there and straightforward. Go ahead and download it. All right, just click and then download and install. Then it will ask you to also allow it to download that plugin. Accept it also, so it can download the DAT plugin. So once you have downloaded the DAT plugin and the Flutter, it will ask you to do what? To restart your IDE. So you have to restart your IDE. So once you finish restarting your IDE, you'll be able to do what? You'll be able to, you'll be able to start creating a new Flutter projects. Okay, once you have restarted your IDE. So those are the steps of setting up the Flutter environment. Okay, those are the steps of setting up the Flutter environment. So that's how you install an extension, and then you'll get the button like this one. It says restart IDE. Go ahead and restart. All right. So after you've restarted, it will open, and then you'll be good to go. So once you've set your environment of Flutter, the next thing is now to create the project of Flutter. So to create the project of Flutter is very simple. It is very, very simple. You just simply find here the word new Flutter project. So it is the plugin that you have installed that will be able to that will make this one possible to add this Flutter project. Okay, it's the one that will be able to do this. So you just simply click on a Flutter project like this, then it will be able to do what? To create a Flutter project. So when you say Flutter project, so the next thing they'll ask you here is the path where your Flutter is. All right. Let me first open here, and let's see where I'm going to save this. First delete. I want to delete the one that I'm using, so I can create a fresh project. Okay. All right, so for me already, so I was here, So go ahead and say, and let me come again. Just simply say new Flutter project, then click on Flutter. So when you click on Flutter, they're going to ask you to specify where your Flutter SDK is. So you're going to show where the Flutter project, the Flutter SDK is, the Flutter that we downloaded, okay? So to show where it is, you just simply click here, all right? So when you click here, it will take you step by step to directly where the Flutter is. So you will have to direct here and point to the folder where you unzipped your Flutter. For example, my Flutter for me is under SRC, under Flutter, and then SRC, and then Flutter on my main disk. So also go ahead and tell where your main disk is, and then direct where the Flutter, where you unzipped and put the Flutter folder. Okay, so I'm going ahead and specify like that. So you see, this is where my Flutter folder is. So after completing those two things, the next thing, you just simply click on next. So here it is you specifying the Flutter project or something that you're going to do. So for me, I'm going to create a Flutter. I've been a project called what? Learn Flutter. So after doing that, you'll have to specify where you want to save this project, okay? So for me, I already have the folder here on desktop in my folder of GitHub. I already have a folder called the Learn Flutter. You can see it here. So I'm going to directly tell this project to come and use that folder. So I'll just simply come here, select there, and then come to my GitHub folder, and then come to this folder of Learn Flutter, this one. And then I select that one. In simple terms, here it is where you set where your Flutter, you want your Flutter to be, your Flutter project, okay, where you want it to be saved. So put a space that does not have funny names, that does not have spaces, does not have like the dashes, just something like this simple, like the way you're seeing this one, a folder like this one. So the next thing, this one, leave it as it is. It's an application. These others, leave them just like the way they are. I hope you members understand what I'm talking about. Just leave these ones. Going to use Kotlin, that's the most recommended. So all these are there. So if you want to generate the iOS folder, you can unselect it, but just leave everything the way it is set, apart from putting there your project of Flutter name, the name of your Flutter project, and also being able to to add and being able to specify where your Flutter project should be saved. So I'm going to go ahead and say create project. And then they ask me, the project file already exists, would you like to overwrite it? I'll just say yes. Okay, they say the module, let me just put here, okay. Learn Flutter like that. Right, so it will process and go ahead and create for me the Flutter project. So I'll have to wait for it to compile. It has completed compiling. So for you, as it may take time, for the first time, it may take time to compile. So there is a new update where they recommend the Android version to be having an API of 33 and above. So you can click on configure and select this 33. So it can take time to configure it, but you can as well, you have to wait for it to finish that configuration. So I can as well come to this folder of Android. So here where there is minimum SDK, put 33 for now. All right, so okay, that might not even show up in your laptop. Okay, so after doing that, then it means that we now have a project of what? Of Flutter. So I'm going to take you through the folders that have been created, and you understand how things are before we get started. So you're going to come here. This is the folder, this is the project. So here you'll find an Android folder. So this Android folder is the folder where the Android code will be saved. Okay, it is where Flutter will be saving the Android code. As we told you, it is Flutter that will do the logic of creating the Android code. So the Android code will be saved here. Then in this iOS folder, it will save the code for the iPhones or iOS. Since you know Flutter is a cross-platform, it can work on all departments. I mean, it can work on all platforms. Then this one is for Mac, and then this one is for web, and then this one is for Windows. So Flutter can be one application and work on all the platforms. That's what makes it also powerful. So after making sure that all those folders are set, so the next thing you're going to do is now start creating a project. So all your project, we are going just to be modifying only two spaces, okay, commonly. We're going to be modifying this pubspec.yaml, this one. This is the place where we'll be putting what? Extensions, or what you call packages. So this is where we'll be adding, let's say that we have something that is not in Flutter and want to add it there. We'll be using this extension to add there, okay? And we'll be using this package, this pubspec.yaml to add there more extensions. Then we'll have pub.lib. I mean lib, sorry, this lib. So this lib folder, it is where our whole code is going to be saved. Everything that we're doing is going to be here in the what? In the publication. Or here where there is what? There is lib. Okay, where there is lib, it's all going to put everything almost. Okay, so you now understand. This is where we're going to be putting everything. So this is the Dart code, the Dart programming code. Okay, so that you're going to be modifying. And we're going to understand what is meant by everything here. But the whole point is, this is the folder that you will be working in only. Then these other folders will be fetching data from this one that will be working using that. Or Flutter will be using the folder to use to fetch to update the other folders. So after doing that, the next thing that we will need to do is now to run your application. So to run your application, there are a few things that you have to do. You can run it either on your computer or you can run it using your mobile phone. Okay, so if you want to run it on your computer, that is very expensive. It becomes, if you don't have a very, very powerful computer like mine, it becomes it becomes hard. Your computer will be very, very, very slow when you're running it from the computer. So it is recommended you use an external phone. You run it on your own phone, or you run it on your mobile phone. So I'm going to share my mobile phone screen, and I show you how you can set your mobile phone so it can be used as an emulator for creating your mobile application. Let me try to share my mobile phone screen. All right, that is my mobile phone. Hope you can see it. So I hope you can see my mobile phone. So once you have your mobile phone, I'm going to show you how you can set your mobile phone to start using it for debugging. So what you're going to do, you're going to come to your mobile phone and then go to settings. So if you've never programmed before, your mobile phone will not accept debugging unless you set it. So set it to debug. You just go to your phone and then go to settings. Oh my god. And then go to settings here. And then whatever phone you're using, it may not be like mine. Me, I'm using a Samsung, but yours can be and not iPhone, by the way. For now, we're not going to look at iPhone. We're looking at Android. Yours can be Samsung, it can be Tecno, it can be Motorola, it can be any other kind of Android phone. All right. Okay. So after, you're going to look for where there is settings. I mean, where there is about. So whether your about is under whatever, but look for where there is a build number of your project. I mean, of your phone. So if you don't have a build, if you don't do what I'm going to tell you, you will not have this place called developer options. So you have to do that. So whatever it is, just look for where there is what you call build number. Most phones now have they have searches. You can as well search it from here and search for build number. Right? Most phones now have searches. So you can search for build number from there in settings. But for me, I know where mine is. Okay. So let me go straight to build number. So to build number, it is under, for me, it is under about and under software, I think. And then the build number is here. Okay. So you press on this build number 3 times. 1, 2, 3, like this. So when you press it like 4 times or like this, like that, you will see something popping up. So they'll tell you that you have enabled your developer mode. Okay, so you have to press on the build number 3 times. So after enabling your developer mode, okay, you have made developer options. You'll be able to come back to home page here of the settings, and then you'll find developer options in the bottom of your settings. Go ahead and click on that developer options. So you start setting. So make it on. So come here and switch it on. Oh my God. Sorry. The technology that I'm using to share screen depends on developer options. So if you switch it on, off, it will disconnect. Oh my God, it has failed now. Okay. All right. So switch on the developer options. Okay, switch on the developer options. Then after, make these settings. You can set it should always be on when you're debugging. Then after, come here to where there is USB debugging and make sure you switch it on, USB debugging. All right, so make those settings on, and then you should be able to do what? To start developing. So once you make these settings on your phone, connect your phone using the good working USB. Some USBs have problem, but make sure that your USB is in good health and it can transfer data. So use that USB to connect your phone. So if you do that successfully, now if you come to Android Studio, you'll find your phone name listed here on top. For example, mine is Samsung, so I can see SM, A10, F7F, something like that. So if you're using Tecno, it will tell you. If you're using whatever, it will tell you from here. If you disconnect it, it will still show you that you have disconnected. Okay, so I hope you understand that what I'm talking about. So go ahead and select your phone. That shows that you have successfully set up your environment. So the next thing that you're going to have to do is to run your project. So make sure that your project is running in order to start celebrating. So I'm going to run my project by just simply clicking on this run button. So it will process and then start running my project. So for the first time, it can take really long. It can take long. It doesn't matter what computer you're using, but it takes long to compile the project for the first time. So we are going to wait for it to finish compiling so you can proceed. So it is faster, and then you can see it has finished. But for your computer, it may be a different case. What are they saying? Insufficient storage. My phone is almost full. Let me delete some things here. I will delete something here. emptied the recycle bin. I hope I have now like around 2 GB free space. All right. Okay. I'll show you. Come to my inbox. I'll show you the technology I'm using to share my screen on phone. Okay, so now my phone, I've deleted some few things. Now I can go ahead and run the project. So let me put my phone here next to my IDE. What are they saying again? Failed to install, failed at binary, current version, and the application launching error. Let us install it again for the last time. Okay. Let's see what could be the problem. Come here and say Flutter let's try to run it again, get dependencies, and then let's try to run it again. More than 10 GB. Yeah, I have a very powerful machine. Someone is asking. All right, so I think let me use the idea, and you see the emulator. Let me first remove the phone and use emulator. Of course, this challenge will always be there. So let me go ahead and use the emulator here. But don't try this on your laptop if it's not having too much RAM. Okay, so I'll make sure that I select here the emulator. Let's run it again. Okay, let's see what could be the problem, and we face it now. because it's going to waste my time. It's wasting our time. Installing. Yeah, it has run. So let me do like this. Let me do like this. View mode window. So let me make this one full screen. Put it next to this one. Okay, that's our phone there. All right, so you should have something like this at least. Okay, you should have something like that, either working on your phone or what. So now, if this is a first application of Flutter, so that's it. That's a very good progress so far. That's our first application of Flutter. Yeah, so you can be able even to click here and then it increases. You see, it increases. So yeah, so that shows that we have made progress. That shows that we made progress, and that is very good news that you can now create at least an application of Flutter. Okay, so members, make sure by the time you finish these videos you can have something like this. Okay, so that is step number 1. So now how many minutes remaining? With the remaining 3 minutes, let us use these 3 minutes just to explain the structure of our project, and then when we come back we now do the coding of that project. So the project will always begin from here where there is main.dat. So that's the class, the function that, the file that will be called when the project is beginning. All right, so in this dat, there are some codes that look to be like kind of confusing, but don't worry, we're going to explain them and along the way. So if you did what he told you, if you watch the previous lectures of, the lectures of dat programming, you're not going to be confused unless you did not watch them and I told you to do so. So our application starts here where there is material application, material app, and then it comes here and collect the theme. So some things are optional, some you can remove them. And then here you have the main page, or what you can call my page or my home page. So this home is where the first screen will be used. Okay, where the first screen will be. All right. So you can create a first screen separately in a different file here, and then you can see this first screen is it's just a class called my home page, and it's extending the stateful widget. So when you proceed right now, it may be confusing you. When you proceed, you look at different widgets. We have stateful widget and stateless widgets. You are going to explain all those ones and you understand what they meant. So this is where our home page is, and then you can see here we have our title, and then this is the state of that home page, this one here, and you will explain what is meant by state, by class, and then also state of the class. Okay, so the state of the of this stateful widget of this home page. Then inside here, it's where now we have the information that you're seeing here on screen. For example, you're seeing this word, you have pushed the button these times. Okay, so I can change this word to say I. So when I say I and I save, straight away it will update the screen, and you see the screen has changed what I have pushed instead of you have pushed. Okay, so maybe I say they have put this button this many times, so I can change this one to say this number of times. So when I save, Flutter has that powerful feature called hot reloading. It will reload automatically and then update your screen. So that is how we are creating the application. So here we have other features, other things that are there. So in the next session, now we are going to see now how can you create now 2 screens. How can you switch from one screen to another screen? How can you style your text? How can you style the container? Which type of layouts do we have? The row, the column. We're going to look those ones. We're going to start looking at those ones in the next session. This one was just to configure, to set up our environment, and make sure you understand it and creating our first Flutter application and being able to run it. So we have already finished that and our time is up. So we're going to go in break of 5 minutes. Then after 5 minutes we come back and do the remaining task of now doing the real programming of Flutter. So let's go and chill for just only 5 minutes. Then at 3:05 we should all be back, and then we look at now the real practicals of how to make mobile application using Flutter. But you can see things are not very hard. Things are not really hard. So let's go ahead and let's go for a break of only 5 minutes. You can remain here or you can switch off and go and chill. And then after 5 minutes we should all be back and then resume with for the next 40 minutes, and we call it a day.